I wanted to try to do this, which was a quick demo of my first job out of college was at a content management company, and I worked there for a year, got laid off, contracted that same job for about 8 years, had a music career, went full-time for a couple years, came back, went back to that same company, got fired, actually worked a couple contract jobs for that company afterwards. A couple years ago, I worked this really complex project and decided I was burned out on services work and just wanted a system that I enjoyed building in, that I could do so for the rest of my career, while also wanting to live that dream of maybe I could get something going and you get enough traction and then you can bring people in and then I can go off and be the musician again, be the creative. And I wish I had just figured out a better job back in 2017, but I didn't. And I doubled, tripled, quadded down on trying to be a better programmer, trying to figure out where functional programming worked in content management. And so a couple weeks ago, I tried another approach to this, which was using agentic / vibe coding to implement the original idea that I wanted, that I somehow had gotten really sidetracked and went down this WordPress PHP functional path that I still think is interesting from an educational perspective. And before I went back to that company, I worked at a startup called Pratis, and it was the mayor's he was a council member at first back then. And so I remember when he got elected mayor, I was like, oh, I remember that name. And so when I come to his site and I see 2022, when I click progress, and if I click this and it's 404, I scratch my head. And, the company I worked for was based out of the Tech Village, and me and this guy I used to work with, they used him as like the face for like 7 years past when he worked there. And it always just amused me to some extent. And so they just relaunched this site in the past week and a half. And coincidentally, not counting this first one, if you come here, it's 2022. And sometimes I just have to wonder, like, what's going on? And why is a guy like me... Well, fill in the blank there. But so I don't want to bore anybody with any more there's a specific demographic, and as far as I could tell, the content system had stopped evolving, was getting long in the tooth, etc. And so I took everything I knew about architecture and tried to make it work. And I used Bolt just out of curiosity about a year ago. Went back in, did it with hack together this demo. I call it minimum viable demo, where you had like an integrated code editor and here you had your, and I will say, I don't know if I'm just getting better at prompting or if it has improved, or if just like trying to stuff that into like native WordPress backend was always just such a bad idea. Oh, come on, man. Stop that. Oh, because I got to hit sync, right? Yeah. Whatever. You don't need to see this. Just know that we split the panel so that you could get a live reload on the right without navigating away. Silly now that I look back. And this is still, this is like the CMS skeleton, but the idea was take everything I learned about how to build it up in WordPress and Carbon Fields and functional programming and bring it back to the main goal, which was always that visual first style. And I rebooted this, but there was another example that I'll have to get in, but let's see, it'd be tough to, I just worked on, oh, well, here, look. Yeah, that was the missing one, wasn't it? So, when it was still WordPress, and I'm like, well, this isn't I'm not doing it like WordPress. What do I want to call this? Somehow I came up with Blueprint as the content management framework. So the idea is this approach is like front-end agnostic, content management agnostic. You can read all about the backstory at blueprintcmf.com. For some reason, I just decided to buy that domain. You get to see where I hit the wall and just realize this wasn't happening. So, hey, how about this? Let's find one button. Wow, we really did hit that wall, didn't we? Oops. This is the live. You hit edit. Okay, that works. That must be. So, hey, look how easy that is compared to what, because that would have been with the block builder. And so that's fun. What is that? The main page, the index? Okay, main page, home index. And then over here, you see you get your little doc nav heading. So, I'd love to pass the baton. I'd love to get people into this. It's I had it. I was into the name Point Free Code, and at first it came out of an experience where I thought, I was like, oh, wait, is this point free? And it wasn't. It was just monadic chaining. And I kind of like the misnomer. And what's that, dev.to? And speaking of like hyper focuses, and then was it May 7th? So what? Oh, okay. So that, all right. There wasn't that much of a time lapse in between. Oh, so I don't even remember that. Yeah, anyway. Never say final. That's so true. Try props. See, I forgot about all this stuff, and it's pretty recent. There should be another post. Because I did finally. It was it? Who liked this? Did I like it? Anyway. Was it worth it? Oh, here we go. Pipe. Yeah, because I came back and this was the Point Freestyle. Oh, April 24th. Okay, about a month ago. Yeah. All right. Anyway. Blah, blah, blah. With the few minutes I have left. Oh, no. My first introduction to programming at the University of Georgia was this CD-ROM called Program Live. It was by Wiley. Wiley had an e-learning platform called WP Tux, which a few years ago I got contracted to reverse engineer and pull into content management system. And when I was done, I was like, what if I could get this to work in a system I control? I've always been web oriented. I've always had a passion for the web. Towards the tail end of working at that company, I got pulled in to do some training, and I found I enjoyed the teaching process and helping people understand these concepts. And that stuff's like child's play compared to this. So I always thought there was, I always thought there was an intersection of education and product, and that why not, like, I'm not going to go into it. Education project, education and product. And I just always felt let down with the education material and how it applied to real world. And I think content management as a training ground works really well with learning to code. I'm into the brand name Point Free Code. Mostly just, I like Point Free. And it's kind of a nod to Point Break and Bodhisattva. And I saw Fight Club in the movie theater when I was 16, and that had a big impression on me. And so I think there's a gap in the education space when it comes to coding. I had a friend that went through the Georgia Tech boot camp, and so I'm familiar with that. I remember working at the Village, and they had, what was the name of that company? And I was just always curious, and it's just my impression that, like, either the system or migrations or things like that, it's such a better way to learn how to think like a programmer. And I don't think people actually teach how to think like that. And it's only comes from the experience and the failures where you get that understanding. And so I'm really interested in this being a meaty project, for lack of a better term. And it's not even a success for me yet. So the idea is we get a really top-notch engineer to come in, help me kick ass. That can become a learning environment too. And the system I used to work in, unless they're doing a major rewrite, I got to assume that whole client base would be looking for a modern solution. So why not build it? Why not me? Why not us? Why not now? Work hard, play hard, dream big, be nice, pay it forward.